Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Down Weep here, back with What If Subaru was a Shadow Dragon Slayer, Part 7. You guys have been waiting for this for a while, so I figured, you know what, I'm gonna just drop it. So, we're about to get into the end of the Season 1 of ReZero's anime, which is the final mansion arc, after Subaru had taken down Julius and the other Knights of Lagunica. Now, after Emillia had disposed her punishment, Subaru had to wait 2 weeks in the capital while Felix healed his gates, and he would be there accompanied by Rem. So, let's get back right into the story now. If you guys have not seen this series and want to go check it out, make sure to go up here, top upper right-hand corner. There'll be a playlist I've linked for you, so you guys can go and get that. Anyway, let's get started. So, like I said, Subaru had been admonished by Emillia, who was, for one, embarrassed by his actions, but also, for some reason, pleased. Emillia felt like Subaru in some way had shown her a kindness that she had not been given by the people of Lagunica. That, of course, being his sign of friendship. Now, she didn't exactly appreciate the way he went about it, which was beating the crap out of everyone who was there, but, that was in the past now. We begin our story today with Rem whispering into Subaru's ear. Get the hell up! Subaru would sit straight up, bolting up as he grabs the blankets that had been covering him. Oh, Rem, it's just you. I swear I thought I had something evil sitting next to me. Rem would simply start whistling and look off into the distance, telling Subaru that Crush and Felix are waiting downstairs with breakfast. She would begin to walk down the stairs, with Subaru now dressing himself and heading down following after Rem. Once Subaru had descended the stairs, making it down to where the breakfast was being held, Subaru would then have a small conversation with Crush and Felix. Felix asking Subaru how his gates are feeling, saying that he's one of the fastest healing people he's ever worked with. Yeah, Crush, it's pretty amazing. I've only had him here for like 3 days, and his gates pretty much completely healed. It's astonishing, to put it lightly. Subaru would laugh, with him remembering how he'd been sucking on shadows in order to absorb more magic power to hurry up the process. Like I established in prior parts, Subaru is one of the people in this world who has access to 2 gates, that being his main gate, which is the second origin for this world. For those of you guys who don't know what the second origin is, if you watch Fairytail, basically, it's an origin of magic within a person's body. In ReZero, that's called a gate. So, Subaru is a person who possesses 2 gates, having awakened his second origin after being teleported to the world of ReZero. The second gate for Subaru being the regular gate for people in this world. So basically, when Felix is saying that his gate's been healed, he's talking about Subaru's magic gate he's been using with shadow magic from this world. It's kind of convoluted, but it makes sense if you think about it. Anyway, Crush should be impressed with Subaru's speed and recovery, making some small talk and chatting with both Rem and Subaru over the next hour or so. Eventually, as the sun was climbing over the capital, Subaru would pull himself up, the wooden chair scratching across the floor as he pushes it back in, making a small screeching sound. Subaru would state that he's heading over to the old man's place, saying that it's time for training. Subaru would run off, with Rem chasing close behind, telling him not to go so fast. Subaru would eventually arrive at the training grounds, where he, outside of Crush's mansion where he'd be staying, would see Wilhelm waiting for him. Wilhelm would smile, seeing Subaru run up so earnestly, grabbing one of the wooden swords on the ground, asking if they're ready to get started. Since Subaru was so bored while waiting for his gate to be healed, Felix had decided to introduce him to Wilhelm. Wilhelm being of Van Estrella, one of the relatives of the Sword Saint, and the current Sword Saint, Reinhardt, who Subaru, if you've forgotten, is very interested in taking down in a sparring match. So, anyway, Felix had introduced Subaru with Wilhelm, Subaru deciding that it could be pretty fun to try and pick up a sword with that little bit of time and see how far he could get with it. Since Subaru can manifest his shadows into physical weapons, this would actually be pretty beneficial for him anyway, so it would be pretty fun. And him and Wilhelm get along pretty well. Alright, old man, are you ready? Subaru would get into his position, holding both hands on his blade. Wilhelm would nod, taking his own position, with one hand on his sword and his other hand back, a one-handed sword-style position. Subaru would lunge forward, using his back foot to push off the ground at a fast amount of speed. The wind ripping through his hair, his eyes almost gleaming in a flash of light as he swings at Wilhelm. Wilhelm would dodge out of the way using a parry as he parries Subaru's strike back towards him, sliding his own sword across Subaru's before pointing it towards him and jabbing forward. Subaru would quickly take his own sword back, using his second hand to hold the blade to block the blow, the pointed jab from Wilhelm being blocked by the main point of the wooden blade on Subaru's end. Subaru would now be sent back, now taking a knee to the ground and pulling himself back up, switching to a one-handed sword style. As he moves forward, Subaru would ball his other hand to a fist, throwing a feint. Wilhelm would just step back before trying to slice down Subaru's arm, but before he could, Subaru would then take his other arm and jab with the wooden sword towards Wilhelm with a quick strike. This would be, unfortunately, Subaru's downfall here. Wilhelm would disarm Subaru, now taking his own blade and slamming it down Subaru's, which without his other hand would be far too weak with just one hand, sending the wooden blade sprawling across the ground and Wilhelm pointing the wooden sword at Subaru's neck. Game over. Subaru would fall back on the ground saying, I thought I was so close this time too. Man, you're just way too good. I really gotta practice. Emillia said I have to stay here at least another 2 weeks. I'm gonna beat you without using magic at all by then. Subaru would now jump back up, pointing at Wilhelm. Trust me, man, you're going down. Wilhelm would smile before placing his blade on the ground and clapping, saying Subaru's gotten much more clean with his sword strikes, saying he can clearly tell that Subaru's been putting effort in behind the scenes. Subaru would pull his hands behind his head, smirking as he says, well, I have used some swords a few times before, so it's not, like, that strange. Come on, you don't gotta compliment me so hard. Subaru would scratch his cheek, blushing. Rem would clear her throat, asking Subaru if there was anything else they had to attend to today before heading back to Crush's place. Subaru would actually have nothing left to do, but he would offer, saying if there's any groceries she wants to get, that he wouldn't mind helping carry them. So they'd head out into town, Subaru waving to Wilhelm goodbye and saying he'll see him tomorrow. This cycle of everyday life living with Felix and Crush would go on for the next 2 weeks, even after Subaru's gait had healed, with 2 weeks being the promised time Felix had said to Emillia, saying how long it would take, but having been severely outmatched by Subaru's recovery speed. So effectively they were all just living together and having a good time. Well, eventually once the 2 weeks had passed and Subaru had been enjoying his sword training, as the final day of the 2 weeks was approaching, Subaru would ask Wilhelm if he would like to have one last spar together. Wilhelm would laugh, saying if he really truly believes that he's outdone his own master at this point, then he might as well use a real blade. Wilhelm would say that if he truly wishes to challenge him in a gentlemanly duel, then he'll be doing so in an arena. Wilhelm would laugh, just messing with Subaru a little bit, since Wilhelm knew this would cause him some frustration. Subaru would sigh, saying that he's going to come back to the capital for the next time Emillia is heading into town, saying for Wilhelm to be ready and keep training by then. The two having a handshake, as Wilhelm wishes Subaru good luck on his way back to the Roswaal estate. With Rem and Subaru taking one of the ground dragons in a carriage, Rem and Subaru preparing for the long journey back to the Roswaal estate. After traveling for almost half a day, Subaru was getting, restless to say the least, asking Rem when they're gonna get there. Rem would say that they still have about half of the journey left, but as they're driving, nightfall seems to be approaching closer, and for some reason, a strange, ominous mist is beginning to build on the horizon. Before that, though, there would be a circle of carriages that Subaru and Rem would decide to see if they could join for the night. This being a caravan of merchants where Subaru was destined to meet, best boy of the series, aka the friendly merchant, Otto. Subaru and Rem would ask if they could join in on the caravan, saying that they won't be doing anything to make any trouble. The fellow merchants agreeing, saying with nightfall coming, it's better to have more people together anyways out here if any mob beasts were to appear. Subaru would laugh, patting Rem on the back, saying that if some mob beasts did appear, the two of them were way too much overkill to handle that. As the travelers would exchange stories of their journeys, Otto would talk about his misfortune where he had bought up a ton of oil. Showing all of the barrels in the back of his carriage, the other merchants would laugh, Subaru asking Rem why they're all laughing. Rem would explain to Subaru that with the cost of oil declining with recent discoveries of more oil reserves, Otto's investment was a poor choice, making the cost of natural crude oil like this cheaper. Unfortunately, unlike our world. But anyway, Otto would be miserable with his purchase of so much oil, with anyone asking if any of the other merchants would like to buy some off of him, for a reduced price, of course. As they be talking, the mist that had been on the horizon before was beginning to slowly encircle the camp, and Rem and Subaru would both smell something. Hey, Rem? You smell that, right? Of course, it smells like danger. Immediately, a long billowing howl would go flying across the plains. This eerie sound causing chills to crawl down the spines of all the merchants sitting there. What is that? This mist. Merchants begin to realize what's going on. It's the white whale. Here? That's not possible. But it's so close to the capital. Then what's going to... The fog would thicken. Subaru would grab Rem and transform himself into shadows, pulling her to the ground, with Rem being terrified of this strange feeling, not being able to breathe. The fog began sweeping over the whole caravan, absorbing people as they disappeared. Subaru was only being spared with Rem at this point because he had made himself intangible. The fog trying to grip Subaru through his magic, Subaru could feel his magic power slowly draining from this weird fog. Whatever it was. Subaru would turn left, noticing that someone had grabbed onto him, as we see Otto screaming under the shadow for dear life, telling them to get the hell out of here, and otherwise looking just fairly terrified. The fog slowly became thinner. Subaru would rematerialize everyone with his shadow magic, telling them that they need to get out of there now. Otto would run to his caravan, with Subaru and Rem doing the same with their carriage, and the two now driving off in the same direction, with Subaru telling Otto to come with them to the Roswaal estate, that they'll fix this all later and see what's going on. As they're driving, suddenly, the whale would come driving right next to Subaru in the carriage. Subaru would turn left, looking to see where Rem was, but she had just simply disappeared. Rem? Rem? Otto would turn, asking Subaru what he's talking about. Subaru getting scared. What do you mean? Where's Rem? Subaru would turn, looking at the side of the carriage. Did she fall off? Is she... Otto would tell him to focus, saying that the fog's getting thicker, and there's no such person named Rem, and there hasn't been this entire time. Huh? Subaru would be horrified, wondering what he's talking about. Suddenly, Subaru would see it. Otto, get the hell down right now! Otto would dive over to Subaru's carriage, his own carriage getting destroyed by the whale, and another loud echoing roar from the maw beast. The massive creature would echo across the plains, its rage now centered on Subaru for some reason. Subaru would breathe in as he uses a shadow dragon breath, blasting the whale in the eye and sending it sprawling back to the side and into the sea of fog. What the hell was that? Otto would say. Everything's gone. My life is ruined. My entire savings was in that oil. Everything's over. The whale began recircling against them, with Otto now again wondering why. Why was this happening? As he turns, noticing Subaru once more. Maybe the thoughts through Otto's mind would come to one conclusion, realizing that it must be Subaru that this whale is targeting. While Subaru is looking off to the side, telling him that he thinks it's clear, Otto would kick Subaru off of the wagon. Subaru would fall to the ground, rolling as he asked what the hell that was for. Otto now rushing off into the sea of fog, laughing and telling him to do his best. Otto's mind completely corrupted by fear. Subaru would just sigh, saying that he has to come back here to look for Rem anyway. As he walks off towards the center of the fog, the white whale would suddenly appear. More fog getting thicker and thicker around Subaru. Subaru's mind began to get hazy, wondering where is... PTSD intensifies. Anyway, Subaru would wake up once again, now sitting in his bed, holding the blankets as Rem had just whispered in his ear. Rem? Oh, thank God, you're okay. Subaru would turn, looking at the room and his surroundings. We're back in Crush's house. But we were just... Subaru remembered what had happened before at the mansion all those weeks ago, when Subaru had consumed all those shadows, slowly getting bigger until he had... Subaru would clutch his neck. Subaru, are you alright? Subaru would pull himself up, saying he's fine, he's just hungry. Saying for Rem to leave the room so he can get dressed. Rem would nod, now noticing the small increase in Subaru's stench of the witch, wondering if something was happening. Rem would choose to not comment on this though, and would simply leave per Subaru's request. Subaru would maintain this fake exterior until Rem now closed the door, walking down the stairs. Subaru had been coughing, dropping to his knees on the floor. remembering what had happened with him and Otto and Rem. Oh my god. Ugh. I'm good. That was just really disorientating. For those of you who don't know, whenever Subaru dies in the world of ReZero, this is the original light novel and canon, the way that it works is there's no like respawn point. Like, he doesn't understand that he's switching timelines. So for him, he was just walking into the fog and suddenly was in his bed. It is a constant stream of time. So Subaru was incredibly disorientated and dizzy and just not having a great time. Not to mention, of course, the natural Dragon Slayer's weakness, which is vehicles. Subaru until this point had been riding on top of their ground dragon, only being forced to get onto the wagon unsteadily when Rem had disappeared. So naturally, when Otto pushed him off, it's not like he could do anything or sense it since he was so dizzy. For anyone who's wondering, yes, pretty much anytime I'm saying that Subaru and Rem or Subaru and Emillia or anything where Subaru's taking travel, just assume that Subaru is riding on top of the ground dragon because motion sickness and dragon slayers. So not a great mix for travel. Luckily, that issue is resolved if the dragon slayer is riding a pet or friend or someone who's considered a comrade, as is shown with Natsu and Happy in original Fairytail. Anyway, now that misconvolution's been cleared up, I can go forward. Subaru would recover from his motion sickness, now pulling himself up and realizing that he's okay, taking a few deep breaths in, and after cleaning up for himself and getting dressed, would head downstairs saying sorry he's a little late, beginning breakfast with Crush, Felix, and Rem again. Realizing that this is the third day from 2 weeks ago when his gait had pretty much almost been healed. It's at this point that Subaru would begin to ask Crush some questions. These questions being if Crush had ever seen a maw beast that had looked like a huge white creature that had fog surrounding it. It's after Subaru would begin learning about the white whale, both from him inquiring with Felix, Crush, and Wilhelm. Wilhelm giving in and telling Subaru around the second week after sword training again, telling Subaru that he's improved leaps and bounds since their first training. Wilhelm would give in and eventually tell Subaru about what had happened with his wife, the previous sword saint, and how it was his life mission to kill the beast, the white whale. He would explain to Subaru that the white whale doesn't leave any bodies behind. Subaru would think back to the night of the whale attack, remembering everything that had happened, trying to think of any distinct location that he could remember. He'd remember that there was this huge tree in the distance, but he didn't know what the name of it was. I'll have to think about it later. Subaru would thank Wilhelm for everything and would leave a few days earlier than when he had originally planned, telling Rem that he knows it hasn't been 2 weeks yet, but if they arrive there early, they can hang out in the village for a while and just be there on time so they don't have to spend a day traveling. This was Subaru's excuse, at least. Rem, of course, would give in to Subaru's, well, unreasonable demands, and Crush and Felix would be a bit surprised. Wilhelm also surprised that Subaru was leaving early. Once again, Crush would thank Subaru and Rem for everything they had done while they were here, and all of the good times they had, gifting them the carriage and ground dragon and telling them to tell Emillia that her end of the deal is complete and that their transaction is ended. Rem would thank Crush along with Subaru, saying goodbye to Crush and farewell, as the two would head off now 2 days early, now heading back to the Roswaal estate. This time, as Subaru would be getting closer to that large tree on their way back to the Roswaal estate, there would be no fog. There was no whale in sight this time. He had effectively gone out of the zone of the white whale's attack. However, as Subaru and Rem were approaching the mansion and the Roswaal estate, Subaru would begin to realize that not all is as well as it seems, beginning to sense some prickling sensation on his skin, getting closer and closer to Arlem Village. Hey Rem, be careful, there's someone watching us. Subaru would catch it in time as a blade was just about to slash through their ground dragon's neck, trying to kill him and the ground dragon he was riding in the same process. Subaru would catch the blade and flick it back in the direction it came from, a body limping out of the tree line and falling to the ground. A circle of these weird people all dressed in black with eye holes cut out on these hoods would appear encircling them and the carriage. Subaru would grit his teeth asking who the hell they are, the only answer he'd get being silence. Subaru would tighten his fists as they look like they're ready to fight as well. Subaru would laugh, saying he's not in the mood for playing around, saying he came home to see Emillia and make sure that everything was going okay back at home base. So, Get the hell out of my way. Subaru would then pump his fistful of shadow magic, leaping atop off of his ground dragon and throwing his fist into one of the cultists' head. A crunching sound being heard as they go flying into a tree, snapping their spine as they fall to the ground. Rem would then summon her mason chain, beginning to fight them off as well. Splatters of blood painting the ground as Rem and Subaru would decimate the cultists, with the cultists not even being able to even fight back. Subaru now taking out the ones in the front, and Rem the ones in the back. At this point, Betelgeuse would be certainly aware that someone had entered into the vicinity, and would begin his march towards this new disturbance of the event. Subaru and Rem would let their ground dragon go to flee if there was any more, heading back the direction it had come. Subaru's fist would tighten, taking in a deep breath, Rem smelling it just a few seconds after Subaru did. The village would be stained with blood, the corpses of the villagers now littering the entire area. Subaru would be furious, his eyes filled with rage, asking who the hell dare? Who the hell did this? Subaru would see Petra's body laying among the pile of mutilated corpses. The children weren't even spared. Rem would remember what her and Ram had went through, their own village being razed to the ground by witch cultists themselves. As Subaru was now stirred with rage, someone would be coming up from behind them. Subaru would not even look over his shoulder, his eye flicking over, his eyes now golden with the slits in them having narrowed. Oh, I see. You've already found the beginning appetizer, Betelgeuse would say. Appetizer? Can I take that to mean that you haven't attacked the mansion yet? Subaru would say, his voice eerily steady. Yes, you understand. Oh, I like the feeling around this one. Oh, it's so troublesome. My brain trembles. Rem would be disgusted with him, along with Subaru. Subaru would turn one foot looking around, as he would see these giant, massive, dark hands growing out of this strange guy. His green, matted hair appearing like that of a corpse, greasy and unkempt. Betelgeuse would be scratching at his head. Now, after saying his signature line, Subaru would waste no time. Subaru would rush forward, kicking off using magic power in his feet, rushing forward at inhuman speeds. Betelgeuse would still be too distracted by his own insanity to even recover fast enough, as one of his hands would automatically try to block the attack, the unseeing hands. Subaru would not be having any of it. Subaru grit his teeth, sucking in, as he absorbed all of the shadow from the unseen hand, punching Betelgeuse in the gut and sending him sprawling, spit flying as Betelgeuse's hands would go with him. How did you manage to block my ultimate power? My love eyes. He could barely continue speaking. Subaru would then move forward with a kick, kicking Betelgeuse in the teeth, with shadow magic covering his foot. His boot now going directly through Betelgeuse's skull and crushing to the ground. Subaru would continue pounding on Betelgeuse's now obviously destroyed and mangled body. But he didn't know that Betelgeuse had already switched his souls to another one of the fingers. Subaru would get up, his hands covered in blood, as he tells Rem that there might be more of them. Rem's lips were quivering, hoping that her sister as well as everyone in the mansion was alright, with Rem and Subaru now leaving together and running off towards the mansion. Suddenly, a massive black hand would come flying out of nowhere, slamming into Rem and smushing her into a tree, one of her legs snapping from the impact. Subaru's eyes would narrow again as he winds them. Rem! He used his shadow dragon magic to create a sword out of shadows, slashing down and severing the hand, causing it, the one that had been pushing Rem into the tree bark, to now effectively disappear, now having been cut from Betelgeuse's sin. Oh, you can see them. You can. Then that must mean you must be one of us. Ah, you must be Pride. Yes, that makes sense. Pride. Subaru would be shocked. He's still alive? But how? Turning around, he would see a strange girl wearing that same outfit from before, with the voice and speaking patterns of that guy he had just slaughtered. Betelgeuse would laugh, seeing the shocked look on his face, saying that things are only going to get more fun from here. I hope you guys enjoyed part 7 for What If Subaru Was a Shadow Dragon Slayer. I'll be ending it right here before the second loop fight with Subaru and Betelgeuse, where I'm being kind of down for the count. If you guys want to see the next episode, I'm aiming for like 300 likes in this video. That'd be pretty awesome, and I'll try and get the next one out as soon as possible. If you guys have made it this far, like, you might as well, you know, hit that like button, subscribe, you know, just gonna get more juicy content from me. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm sorry it took so long to get this out, but I had a great time, and I'm going to be trying to get part 8 out as soon as possible, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye.